Netflix shows and documentaries look expensive, but it's not just the cameras, it's the colors. Today, I'm going to break down the secret to that cinematic look. And I'm going to show you this in DaVinci Resolve using this stunning footage from Tuvalu, one of the most beautiful islands on Earth and one of the first that might actually disappear very soon. This video, it is sponsored by Artlist, but more about Artlist and how they worked to capture this beautiful island a little bit later. Netflix style isn't just about camera gear, it's about control, it's about consistency, color, skin tones, and making things look very, very natural, especially when it comes down to cinematic documentary style. Most shows use a color managed workflow, ACES or DaVinci Resolve White Gamut, with custom LUTs built around ARRI log. Obviously, we're not going to be working with ARRI footage because, let's be honest, no one really shoots ARRI here. But we'll be using Josh and Spencer footage from Tuvalu, which was shot on Red, and FX6, which are some of the most common cameras for a bit more higher end documentary work. The thing you'll notice the most in the Netflix style is the balanced contrast that is not overly crashed, but with rich depth, vibrant natural colors, greens, blues, and golden skin tones, soft highlights roll off and gentle diffusion, and color separation between subject and environment. Now, why are we even talking about Tuvalu and where even is this place? Well, it's a remote island nation at risk of disappearing due to sea level rise. Like many other places in the world, the effect of global warming can really make a huge impact here. Artlist sent 4 creators to capture it, not only visually, but also to capture the sound and music of this forgotten paradise. They returned with stunning footage, soundscapes, and original music. This isn't just stock, this is cultural preservation in a cinematic form. When you're telling stories using this kind of footage, your color grading has to match the vibe of the place. And this is where the Netflix look come into place. You can now download the whole collection straight from Artlist, and if you don't have a subscription yet, you can click the link on top of my description and you get 2 months free with any yearly plan. Let's break down how to make this Netflix look step by step, node by node in DaVinci Resolve using DaVinci Resolve Studio. Sorry, today we're not using DaVinci Resolve free, but there is a few things that I want to use that are included within Studio, not in the free version. So let's get into it. All right, I want to start with these 2 shots because they're just so beautiful. The first one is putting back between these 2 ladies, and one is just a guy sitting on a boat. And they represent the perfect example because this is at blue hour just after the sun has set, and this is during the midday. So we're gonna learn how to make this color grade look very nice together, very complementary, but also how to get that Netflix look. So the first thing, we're gonna add a few nodes, as always, to play around. First and last, it's always our color space. Transform, you obviously need to know what are you transforming from and to. In this example, this is Sony FX6. So S Gamut 3 Cine and S Log 3 to DaVinci White Gamut. And then we do the same from DaVinci White Gamut, Intermediate to Gamma 2.4 Rec 709. And that's what we're gonna export in. All right, so now we have a beautiful Rec 709 transformation. Now what we want to do is make this way more cinematic. So our first node will always be our vignette, the second our primaries, and then we go our color, glow diffusion, and then we can also add saddle grain at the end. So this is usually my node tree. If you watched any of my videos before, this is kind of how I like to color grade most of the time. The vignette for now, we're gonna leave it as it is. Primaries and color hue is where I create my whole look. So primaries, I usually add contrast within the scene using a simple S curve. I think just like this works great, just to make the whole scene pop a little bit more. Then I really like to play around with the primary color wheels. Here usually I bring down the lift reds to get that aqua looking in the shadow, more like blue hour looking, and also play around with a little bit of greens, bring up the shadows a little bit just using this one, and then I will play around with the gain. Pretty happy how this looks. So this is before primaries and this is after primaries. I think this looks already very, very nice. I'm gonna move on to color hue. Here you can either play around with the color warper, which is one of my favorite, but in this case I think I would prefer using the curves, and I'm gonna go on to hue versus hue. Now Here, what I like to do is simply click all these buttons down here to create spots all around. And then I will usually go to skin tones and try and find a better skin tone look. So here, she's very red, for example. So we're gonna try and like move this around until the redness goes away a little bit. And then another thing that I like to do here, it's moving those blues towards the aqua a little bit more. If we start from the start again, this is slug and this is what we got right now. Now, the next one is glow and diffusion. And the reason why I said I wanted to use DaVinci Resolve Studio is because the glow effect and the halation effect are perfect. With glow, it pretty much adds this beautiful highlight roll off in the whole image. So once we added our glow and diffusion, you see it's very subtle, but all of these things layered together will add such a nicer look. Now we're gonna go back to our vignette, and here you could be looking for a vignette, but I don't like doing that way too much. Honestly, I prefer to make a spherical mask, kind of like an oval mask actually, and then make sure you're not bringing things down in the middle like this. But your mask is inverted obviously, and then you feather it out pretty much as you can. And this way you can actually create something a bit more anamorphic looking vignette, which is kind of subtle and more interesting, I would say. Just a little bit, here we go, just to put more focus onto our ladies right here. Now again, grain in DaVinci Resolve, it's so good, and I barely use any other grain, to be honest. This is before, this is after. Now you want to play around with things a little bit. You can go 35mm if you want it more fine, and you can go different film stocks. I usually like, I think the 400T is the one that I like the most. This is so beautiful. And as you can see, the color separation that we talked about before, you can clearly see right here how these two ladies are so nice and beautifully lit by the whole scene, but there is so much color separation between them and the background, which makes this very cinematic look come alive. And this is before and this is after. Very subtle, very natural, but you still got that beautiful Netflix look. Let's say you want to make even more color separation, which is something that you can obviously do very easily in DaVinci Resolve. Create a parallel node just up here. Let's call it mask. And we're gonna go into the magic mask, and I'm using DaVinci Resolve 20, which is incredible. And this magic mask, it's just ridiculous to me. So we're gonna just press this so that we can see what we are highlighting. This might take a little while actually, because I didn't think about the fact that it's a very long shot. So all of this scene is struck right now. We're gonna repress this. And what you can do right now, is go in your curves and bring up a little bit this one, create a bit more contrast within them, adjust the blur radius of your mask, otherwise it will look very strange. And then what you can do here is go into your color wheels and then bring in a bit more warmth within the body. And look at this. This was before, which was still a great shot, but this is with the mask. All right, so this was shot on a DJI Mavic Mini, I believe. And we can simply copy and paste it, and obviously it's not gonna work, but we're gonna go into the right color space, which is the log. And then what you're gonna do is adjust all things exposure. Now, I am actually not sure if this DJI drone shot in log, I think so. But we can just bring down the gain, bring down the highlights, make sure the image is not clipping, and with a few clicks, you just saw what I did there. This is the result. And there you have it. With just a few clicks, you can take your beautiful shots to a Netflix standard documentary style cinematic shot. And that was a mouthful. Now layer in some music and soundscapes that were captured in Tuvalu, and you got a beautiful documentary piece. Now, I know this is nothing new, and I covered similar tutorials before on my channel, but I feel like every time if you do look very close to what I'm doing, I always have a few tweaks here and there that make the footage look different. The last thing you gotta do is just rely on one-click solutions. Learn the base of color grading, understand colors, understand what works, what doesn't, and this will take your footage to a whole new level. So thanks so much guys for sticking around, and thank you Artlist for sponsoring this video and being able to capture such an incredible place and preserve such incredible culture with this visual collection. Again, click the link down in the description, get 2 months free with any yearly plans, and I'll see you guys next week in the next video. See ya.